He always joked that she was the dramatic one. The first time she cried in front of him, he wiped her tears and said, "No one has ever understood you like I do." She believed him. It felt like safety, like finally being seen. Clinically, that's the idealization phase. Intense intention and affection used as a hook, not as a genuine intimacy. Over time, the sentences changed. "Relax, I was only kidding." "That never happened. You're remembering it wrong. You know you're lucky I put up with you, right?" Each line landed like a small slap to the mind, not the body. Her nervous system started to respond to his tone before his words. Then she stopped being sure of either. That shift from feeling chosen to feeling defective is exactly what devaluation looks like in narcissistic dynamics. When she tried to explain the fights to friends, the stories fell apart in her hands. She could remember his words, but not the order, his anger, but not what caused it. She started opening with, "Maybe I'm crazy, but," and meant it. This is the impact of chronic gaslighting. It doesn't just distort specific memories, it erodes trust in your own perception altogether. His favorite game was to let her retell an argument and then calmly correct her version until she apologized for the things she did not do. Over time, the goalposts always moved. If she cried, she was too sensitive. If she did it, she was cold. That double bind is the hallmark of narcissistic abuse. There is no right way to behave because the point is not resolution. The point is control. He kept a running list of her flaws. He brought out like evidence. Too needy, too clingy, too independent, too focused on work. When she flinched, he sighed. "See, this is why no one else could tolerate you." Eventually, she started repeating it to herself at night, like a prayer. "No one else would put up with me." That is what a narcissistic system does over time. It replaces your internal sense of worth with their evaluation of you. The isolation was almost complete before she noticed it. She stopped seeing family because they stress you out. She stopped answering friends because they're jealous and don't really get you. Her phone was full of muted chats and unread messages, evidence of a life she apparently didn't deserve. In that silence, his voice got louder until it sounded like her own thoughts. Narcissistic abuse is often quiet and invisible from the outside. The loudest injuries live in the target's mind. One night, during yet another argument that had no clear beginning and no clear point, she heard herself say very quietly, "Your anger is not my responsibility." The room went silent. He laughed, then raised his voice, then cycled through every old trick, guilt, mockery, threats of leaving. But that sentence sat between them like a locked door. In that moment, her nervous system recognized something before her mind did. This was not a normal fight. It was a pattern. In the morning, she packed a bag, not because she felt strong or sure, but because she finally saw the cycle. Idealize, then slowly devalue. Overwhelm, confusion, isolation, and feed on the version of you that forgets what you deserve. Every step toward the door felt wrong, selfish, ungrateful. Words he had used so many times, they felt like facts. That cognitive dissonance is exactly why leaving narcissistic abuse often feels worse psychologically than staying. Her hand shook as she texted a friend she hadn't spoken in a year. "I think something is wrong. Can I talk to you?" The reply came in seconds. "Yes, come over." It was the first piece of reality that didn't have to pass through him first. Reaching out to one safe person is often the first real intervention. It gives your brain a second point of reference, which is how reality testing starts to come back online. As a psychologist, this is the part where the frame widens. In this story, the abuser is a man in a romantic relationship, but narcissistic personality traits and narcissistic abuse are not limited to a boyfriend or husband. The person in that role could just as easily be a wife, a parent, sibling, boss, coworker. The gender and role change, but the psychological pattern is the same. Clinically, what you're seeing is a constellation of narcissistic personality traits. a fragile but grandiose self-image that must be protected at all costs. A chronic need for admiration, a lack of genuine empathy, and relationships used primarily to stabilize the abuser's self-esteem. When that system is threatened, even by normal disagreement, the response is not repair. It is retaliation, gaslighting, blame shifting, devaluation, and sometimes discard. So when someone hears the story and thinks, that sounds like my partner, or that sounds like my mother, or my boss, anyone, the details on the surface may differ, but the underlying loop is familiar. Idealization, devaluation, control, and a slow replacement of your reality with theirs. Recovery begins at the exact moment you notice the pattern. Trust your own perception enough to name it and allow other safe minds into the room with you. And remember, you are stronger than this.